Hi, I'm WTOP film critic Jason Fraley, and all month long we're ranking the best movies in every genre. 30 genres over 30 days, and today we're breaking down my top 25 prison flicks. Now, when you think prison flicks, of course you're going to think of the movies that actually take place in prisons. So we get movies like The Green Mile, which wasn't nearly as good as Shawshank, but still a great follow-up. It was Frank Darabont reuniting with Stephen King for another great prison flick. We also get The Hurricane, where Denzel plays Reuben Hurricane Carter, which, as Bob Dylan said, he could have been the champion of the world, but instead he gets falsely accused, and the whole movie is him trying to get out of jail. We get Escape from Alcatraz, the awesome Don Siegel movie, reuniting with Clint Eastwood after Dirty Harry, where I'm telling you, if you like these prison escape movies like Shawshank and all those other ones, you're gonna love Escape from Alcatraz, based on the true story of the guys that actually busted off Alcatraz Island, and they still don't really know what happened to them. They found the raft. Did they drown? Didn't they get away? I don't know. The movie ends, and it's a really cool movie. We get Birdman of Alcatraz, Burt Lancaster. I don't think Brooks within Shawshank with his little bird would exist without Birdman of Alcatraz. We get American History X, where Ed Norton goes in with, I think he's a white supremacist that goes to jail with the curb stomping and everything. And while he's in there, he realizes the error of his ways. And honestly, it felt like it punched you in the face at the time. But now, after all these KKK rallies still in Charlottesville and even in DC, it's like, what, are we in 2018 now? But man, American History X, now it's even more powerful. And then, of course, some foreign flicks like A Man Escaped, the Bresson movie. I mean, he made so many great movies, but if you want to look at how simplicity can work for a prison escape movie and just the cinematic language, check this one out. Now, those are the traditional prison movies that you think when I say prison, but as we went through all of the different movies and all the different genres, I also found that another sort of subgenre fit in here, which is the prisoners of war, the POWs, and then on that light, even some Holocaust movies. So we get movies, prisoners of war, like La Grande Illusion, the great 1937 Jean Renoir movie before he made Rules of the Game. But this one is a great, World War prisoner of war flick. And they even get the, I think the harmonica comes from that Morgan Freeman uses in Shawshank. See, we're seeing all the influences here. The Great Escape, come on, Steve McQueen, Richard Attenborough, James Garner. There's so many people in this movie. Charles Bronson is the guy that gets claustrophobic digging the tunnel. So they dig 3 tunnels in World War II. They're these Allied American and British POWs captured by the Germans, and they dig 3 tunnels. Tom, Dick, and Harry, in case they find one, they still have 2 others. It's so great. Look at the cast, and I think it builds up to the ultimate, Steve McQueen on the motorcycle jumping over the barbed wire fence. How many times have we seen that? But there's just that great Elmer Bernstein score. I think it inspired sort of Hogan's Heroes and all those great TV shows, but it really started with The Great Escape. One of my favorites. Definitely had to go towards the top of the list. Along similar lines of POWs, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Yeah, it's an epic. Yeah, it could be a war flick. We put it here because I think a lot of the story elements have more in common with The Great Escapes and La Grande Illusion, these prison movies, where in this case we have a never better Alec Guinness as the British colonel. Remember the whistle, the woo-doo, da-da-da-da-da. Everyone knows that. But they're captured by the Japanese in World War II, and they are commanded to build a bridge over the River Kwai. Of course, then we have a young William Holden with the Allies plotting with them to sneak up on it and try to blow it up. Come on, the war's still going on. But Alec Guinness is so good in this movie. There's that time he has to spend, in solitary confinement in that heat box. And when he comes out, watch how jello-y his legs are. Like, you actually believe that he has no energy left. He's great. And then by the end, he's so proud of this bridge. And then while he's up there, he sees the dynamite and William Holden coming to blow it up. And he has that moment like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm supposed to be fighting for the Allies. It's just one of the great David Lean movies ever. We put it here towards the top of the prison list because of the prisoners of war idea. I toyed with it. I was thinking, a lot of the Holocaust movies also have similar. Yeah, we put Schindler's List in the biopics because, in a way, it kind of focuses more on the man that set up that safe haven from it. Yes, there's some of those moments in there, but I think it's more about the man. But the Holocaust movies that made this were the ones that focus on the confinement. It's the idea of the captivity. So, Son of Saul, which just came out from Hungary, I think in 2015 it won Best Foreign foreign flick. That is all. I mean, it's that 4:3 aspect ratio, and it almost makes us wonder what's all the horrors outside of the frame. Life is Beautiful, the Roberto Benigni one, sort of how using make-believe that this father and son during the Holocaust can kind of try to get through it by playing make-believe a little bit. But also sort of the idea of captivity. And then even Sophie's Choice I put in here. Yeah, that one's tricky. That could be drama. It's a way to fit more movies here, I guess. But Meryl Streep's most iconic role, and yeah, a lot happens in present day, but through her flashbacks with that awesome accent, I think it was her best role. We see her time in the Holocaust, in the concentration camps, with the title Sophie's Choice, the ultimate heartbreaking choice she has to make while there with the Nazi commander that makes her make the choice. We won't spoil it, but I can't imagine making that choice. It's scary, scary, heartbreaking stuff. But yes, the Holocaust stuff, the prisoner of war, it felt like they could go in the prison genre. Now, of all the great flicks that we just named, how do you narrow it down to a top 3? Well, to me, it was actually easy. I think these 3 are musts. So number 3, Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman, 1967, arguably his most iconic role. He's the ultimate rebel rouser, fighting back against Strother Martin's warden, where the famous line, what we've got here is a failure to communicate. A lot of you have heard that during the Guns N' Roses song, but it happened long ago in the 60s. And what's so great about this, you get all the stuff of, Luke, eating the 50 eggs and the boxing match and just all that kind of fun, him breaking loose and, I'm shaking it off, boss, and he sneaks away while, they think he's using the bathroom, but he's sneaking away from the chain gang. All those great classic scenes. But to me, what makes it a top 3 movie is if you need to watch it again, the entire thing is a Christ allegory. Cool Hand Luke, he's number 37. Go look up the verse, Luke. He's baptized when he first arrives. He slowly wins them over with his miracles, like eating the 50 eggs. Dragline, played by George Kennedy, is his chief disciple, but they're all the disciples. I'm telling you, watch it. He escapes, he comes back. He's got the 2 girls on his arm, and he rips it up, and he's like, I just made that up, and but they want to tape it back together, and it looks like a cross. The final shot of the movie is a cross. There's that great scene after he eats the eggs. Look, the camera rises up, and he's laying like a crucifix. It's just so much, and it even ends with, in the garden, he's almost sort of like praying, on the knees in the empty church, looking up like, why have you forsaken me, kind of an idea. Dragline does a Judas betrayal at the end. Watch it again in that light, and he even sings the Plastic Jesus song when his mom passes away on the banjo, and he's crying. I mean, it's a Christ allegory. It's unbelievable when you look at it that way. Oh, it's not just a prison flick, is it? No, it's a top 3 masterpiece there. Stuart Rosenberg. Check it out. Number 2. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You might call this a bit of a swerve because, yes, it's a mental institution. It's not necessarily a prison, but as you can see, we sort of kept a big tent of captivity here with the prison and the war. But if you look at it, the iconography of this has way more in common with your Shawshanks and Cool Hand Lukes and all those kind of great escapes than it does any other, like a drama. Yeah, of course, if we put it in drama, it might be the number 1 drama, it might be the number 2 drama. But in here, we put it 2 because I always think of this as a piece with your Cool Hand Lukes and Shawshanks. Oh my God. One of only 3 movies to win the top 5 big Oscars, which is Best Picture, Director, Screenplay, Actor, and Actress. If you think about it, at least on the actor-actress front, how many movies have that leading, like think about when they announce the Oscars, have the big best actor that everyone's pushing and the big best actress all together. I mean, you have Silence of the Lambs and It Happened One Night are the only other 2 to do it. But in this, you have Jack Nicholson, a never better Jack Nicholson, as Randall P. McMurphy, who commits a crime but convinces them that he's mentally not fit to go to jail, so they put him here. He comes in and, similar to Cool Hand Luke, just shakes up the place. All the great people. Look at the cast, too. There's a young Danny DeVito. There's a young Christopher Lloyd. It's just a stacked cast of all the other patients in the mental institution. But what really makes, and they're all great, too, with, hit me, and the chief, is, a juicy fruit. But to me, it's all about Louise Fletcher as Nurse Ratched. Can you name a more evil villain on screen than Nurse Ratched? It's hard to. I mean, she's one of the AFI's top 5 or 3, maybe even villains of all time for a reason. She is so good in this movie. Even her hair is done almost like horns, and Nicholson goes up and is like, he's saying, "We want to watch the World Series," and all her only answer is, "You're leaving. Your palms are leaving prints on my window. Get your hands off my window." She's so evil in this, but the way they duke it out with Nicholson is so good. And they break loose and go on the fishing trip and playing basketball, and it's a lot like Cool Hand Luke trying to break free. But man, it's just a piece of work. Milos Forman, rest in peace. He was a Czech filmmaker who came over here. I think did some of his best work here with Amadeus and Cuckoo's Nest, of course. Oh my God, it's an amazing piece of work, and one of those movies that, yes, ends tragically, like the Kesey novel, but one of those movies that I continue to return to as one of the greats, because it's one of those endings where the hero, yes, doesn't succeed, right? Nicholson's character ends tragically, but his legacy, he inspires someone else, and the chief, he inspires him to then lift the sink and break out and run off into the distance to that great, Native American theme. It's one of the greats. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Could have easily been number 1, but it was my number 2. Number 1, Cuckoo's Nest might be better, but I let the people speak on this one. The IMDb's fan-voted top movie of all time, even higher than The Godfather, the fans say, The Shawshank Redemption. This movie, it just knocked me out the first time I saw it, and it's one of those that every time it's on cable, you have to watch it again and again, because you notice more every time. Get Busy Living, Get Busy Dying, I think is one of the most inspirational movies of all time, and a rare look at a male friendship. The bond they have in this, by the time they get to say Wantaneo and go and embrace each other on the beach, you just can't help but smile. It's one of those scripts, Frank Darabont wrote it, based on the Stephen King short story Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. It's one of those that keeps a great secret, and just the way it unveils is pretty impressive, the way they yank that out, and it's one of those oh my God endings, but we're rooting for it to happen the whole time. And so in the end, yes, I guess you could argue maybe Cool Hand Luke gave it a lot of the elements. Andy Dufresne emptying his pockets full of dirt is totally from Great Escape. The harmonicas from Grand Illusion. Cuckoo's Nest, probably, objectively, maybe even a better movie. But we're gonna go. If lists are half democracy, we're gonna go with IMDb number 1 pick, The Shawshank Redemption. It kind of proves, it wasn't on the AFI's list when they first did it, and when they redid it in 2007, it had made it around 70-something. It's going to continue to rise because, let's face it, like Morgan Freeman says, all you need sometime is pressure and time. That and a goddamn big poster. So honestly, the fans kept up the pressure over time, and there it is. Now it's the cream of the crop. Shawshank Redemption, best prison flick of all time. See my full top 25 prison flicks on WTOP.com's entertainment page. Join the blog, let us know what you think, and tune in tomorrow as we break down my favorite romances.